You can't have kids, right? That's why I'm giving you this child. Be grateful. If you can't bear a child, at least contribute to society by raising one." I struggled to comprehend what was being said to me. Then, unbelievably, my sister abandoned her daughter, who was suffering from a rare disease. Is this really what a parent should do? We will make sure this child is happy and make her regret abandoning her. My name is Sarah. I'm 28 years old, and I've been a housewife for 8 years, married. Initially, my in-laws often pressured us about having children. My friends talked about the wonders of having children, yet also mentioned the lack of freedom, sleepless nights, and how they sacrificed themselves out of love. But my husband and I despise that. It's not that we dislike children, we're just not good with them. That's an undeniable fact. After 8 years, it seemed like everyone realized and stopped bringing it up. I know it's selfish, but right now, I have too many things I want to do and can't devote time to a child. Such parents wouldn't be good for any child. I was raised as an adopted child, so I'm not fixated on blood relations and even thought about adopting when I got older. My husband, Henry, is understanding. He always says, "If we're blessed with a child, I'll mainly take care of it and support you." People who can't have children might envy us, but as someone who was abandoned by her parents, I couldn't be irresponsible. Friends' kids who were in elementary school or kindergarten seemed well-educated and cute. Maybe children born out of desire feel their parents' love. Of course, I consider the two who raised me as my real parents, and I'm grateful for them. I have an older sister who is 2 years my senior. Her name is Linda. Our parents wanted siblings but could only have one, so they adopted me. We got along well when we were young, but she started to dislike me as I had better grades. "You wouldn't be compared, and all the money would have been spent on me if you weren't here," she once said. For the sake of my parents' honor, I must say that they showered both of us with love and resources, not just mentally, but emotionally too. They never compared us, not once. It was only Linda who felt inferior on her own. She just chose not to study where I did, and that led to comparisons. It was frustrating for me. Maybe because she hated studying, Linda decided to become an internet idol and used our parents' money to buy all the necessary equipment, but she never really put in the effort. Looking at successful people, one might think it's easy, but it requires relentless work. That was always Linda's problem, underestimating things. Linda, not lacking in looks, had her fans, and among them, the most generous was Mark, with whom she had a shotgun marriage. She probably thought he was rich, but unfortunately, it turned out he was in debt from spending on her. Even our parents hesitated, but not wanting to see their grandchild suffer, they paid off his debts and secured him a job. The job paid well, so my sister and her husband's lives stabilized. But Linda's poor financial sense remained unchanged, preventing them from saving anything. Then one day, Linda's daughter Karen suddenly fell ill. Actually, there were signs earlier, but Linda, being stingy, hadn't taken her to the hospital. When I arrived after Linda called me, Karen was lying in bed, connected to tubes. I was told the reason I was called. Karen's kidneys were failing. They wanted me to get tested to see if I was a match. I would have said no if it were just Linda, but I was fond of Karen. She was so sensible for a 7-year-old. I often thought she was the kind of daughter I'd like. Thinking I wouldn't be a match, I agreed to the test, but it turned out I was. "Please, I'll definitely make it up to you. Save Karen," Linda begged. I wanted to believe that she meant it. After the operation, Karen was out of danger, but that's when the real problems began. Linda hadn't insured her, so the costs were substantial. Then Linda came to me again. "Could you help with Karen's treatment costs? I can't ask our parents anymore, and I need this to be kept secret." "What about Mark? He's got a good salary from the job Dad found for him, right?" Linda sneered. "That salary is nothing. If our parents find out about our spending, Mark might get fired and we'd be on the streets. Is that what you want?" I felt like saying yes, but I couldn't, not with Karen being used as a pawn. "I'll lend you the money, but you have to write a promissory note. Exploiting your daughter's illness is despicable." Fine, I understand. Save the sermon," Linda replied. When she brought the promissory note later, she signed it without even reading it. This is why she never saves any money. Despite having such parents, Karen turned out well, which impressed me. After that, I began visiting Karen's hospital room more often. Was it because I had donated a kidney? Or because I had lent them money? No, it was out of pity for Karen. Karen told me that I visited more than Linda, who now seemed to look at me coldly. After a long course of treatment, Karen ended up needing a wheelchair for mobility. Then, on the day she was to be discharged, an incident occurred. An unknown number called, and since it was my day off, I answered. Hello? Hello? Is this Sarah's phone? This is General Hospital. That's Karen's hospital. Thank you. You have the right number. Thank you. Sorry to bother you, but Karen's hospital bill is unpaid, and today she's supposed to be discharged. But no one has come for her, and we can't reach her parents. I felt a sudden chill and a rush of heat. My heart clenched. Without realizing it, I was already on my way to the hospital. I got into a taxi and called Linda. Hello, what are you doing? Today is Karen's discharge day, right? I couldn't stay calm and ended up shouting. Can you lower your voice? I can hear you. I don't want that kid, so I'm giving her to you. It's perfect since you can't have children, right? If you can't have your own, at least contribute to society by raising one. I couldn't believe it. You're the worst, just like my birth parents. You don't deserve to be a parent. And what about the hospital bills? I could hear her laughter over the phone. Sorry, I spent it. It's hard to resist when you suddenly get a lot of money. I've been wanting to do something for a while. It's useless to tell Mark. He can't go against me. He married an idol like he wanted. He can't resist me. He's fine with getting rid of the child. Anyway, we can't pay, so if you don't take her, she might as well be gone, right? I don't remember, but maybe my birth parents were like this. I thought this was my battle of mourning, a revenge against the parents who abandoned me. More than anything, I couldn't stand to hand Karen over to Linda. Fine, I'll pay the hospital and surgery bills, and I'll take Karen as my child. Consider it a severance payment. Really? I was worried about how to repay the money I borrowed, but you'll pay that too? I've gained a total of $100,000, plus I can reset my life by getting rid of a daughter in a wheelchair. I should have another child and have them support me in the future. Linda's reason for having children was the worst. I didn't want to talk anymore. I hung up, apologized to the hospital repeatedly, completed the payment, and through lawyers, I arranged a private adoption for Karen to officially become our child. Karen became our child officially. I thought Henry would oppose it, but when I timidly told him afterwards, he said, "That's why I love you. I can't forgive Linda either. A family of 3 will surely be fun." And I ended up crying. I'm so grateful to have married such a wonderful person. And that's how Karen officially became our child. My parents probably thought it was best for Karen's rehabilitation and care to be with us. They even offered to help. Linda seemed a bit resentful, perhaps worried about our parents finding out about the money. She didn't dare come by. When I honestly told Karen, she was surprisingly calm for a 7-year-old. I thought so. Mom and Dad never visited me. Now, Sarah, you're my mom. Sorry if I'm not used to it yet. She accepted it, but I knew she had been silently crying in her bed. I used to think I had so many things I wanted to do, but now Karen has become my reason for living. Having been involved with her since birth, albeit indirectly, it didn't take time for me to develop affection. Seeing a young child struggling and crying during rehabilitation, even if she's not my biological child, I felt encouraged to support her. Karen was a real trooper, finding ways to do things despite her disability and always trying her hardest. I forgot about the money and supported her to the fullest. With the help of my parents, Karen grew rapidly. Thanks to rehabilitation, she gained some movement in her right leg. She still needed a wheelchair, but she was able to do more. When Karen turned 9, she said, "Mom, I want to be like this person." By then, Karen had gotten used to calling me Mom and Henry Dad, and she showed me a video. It was a video of a blind pianist. That's cool, but it must be hard, right? Don't you need a special sense for that too? Karen just opened the piano app on her tablet, then she casually played the piece from the video. I'm shocked. That's amazing. Did you practice a lot? Well, I just listened and remembered it. It's kind of like, I just got curious. I played a commercial jingle from TV and asked, "Can you play this?" After just hearing it once, she played it effortlessly. That's incredible. Maybe you have perfect pitch. Hey, Henry, look at this. What's going on? It's rare to see you this excited. Sarah and I repeated the whole interaction again. Let's buy a grand piano, and for that we need a bigger room. Maybe we should build a house. In those 2 years, Henry had become a doting father, always spoiling Karen. 5 years later, Linda, through our parents, reached out. Linda and Mark came for the discussion. I left the kids with my parents and decided to talk in the living room of my childhood home with Henry. I didn't want them to know our current address. My parents were waiting in another room. So what do you want? You moved away and cut off all contact. And what's with that figure? I hardly recognize you. I've had some issues with my weight, but that's not important right now. I had heard from my parents that Linda was in the middle of divorce proceedings, apparently due to infidelity, and she had gained a lot of weight from overeating and drinking. Mark was there, seemingly coerced by Linda. He probably wanted to see his daughter one last time. He seemed disappointed not to see her there. Since then, they hadn't had any more children, and I thought it was poetic justice. I would lose faith in any god that would give such irresponsible people children again and again, but I am grateful that they gave me Karen. You're not asking for money again, are you? Please, I need treatment. I've developed diabetes from binge eating and drinking. I can't work, and the treatment is expensive. We may not be blood-related, but we're still sisters, right? Help me. Linda apologized with gestures that seemed insincere. Then she first returned the $50,000. Linda looked confused. You didn't read the promissory note, did you? I guess you don't have it anymore. That money is a settled issue, isn't it? It's insincere to bring it up now. She had no right to say that. I was irritated but decided to enlighten her. I only waived the money. I paid for your hospitalization. I never said anything about waiving the loan. You misunderstood, and since we couldn't find you, we gave up. Remember, I said I'd take the hospital and surgery expenses as severance. You haven't repaid the money you embezzled, but now I can claim it. What? I came here because I have no money, and now you're going to bill me? Linda said defiantly. Then suddenly, the door of the next room swung open. There stood Karen, dignified, even with her disability. Her face had taken all the good features from Linda, making her an extraordinary beauty. Is that Karen? You've grown. Look, you can tell, right? She's grown up to be so much like me. Who are you? Karen's disdainful look was as if she were staring at trash. What kind of language is that? Have you been raised properly, calling your mom you? Mom is right here, and Dad is next to her. Karen pointed at me and Henry. I felt tears welling up. I had become a doting parent, too. I never thought I'd cry over my child. Besides, you have a $50,000 debt and are getting divorced. How are you going to raise Karen, who still needs a wheelchair? Mark can take care of it. Of course he can't. Defy me? Seriously, is she an idiot? She was already defying him by going through divorce proceedings. Then Mark stood up. Enough is enough. I'm fed up. I can't stand it anymore. Sarah, I'm sorry for everything. I promise to pay off the debt. I'll take over the compensation money for you and start over. The debt is only being shouldered temporarily. I don't want to trouble Karen anymore. Even if I'm a failed father, I must take responsibility. I heard from friends that you've been bad-mouthing me behind my back. Now you have 0 fans. What? You're betraying me too? Linda tried to act tough, but it seemed to hit her hard. Her face turned bright red. Mark turned to us and said he would contact us later, then left. I didn't sympathize with Mark, but I hoped he wouldn't be brainwashed again. By the way, Dad and Mom know about your current debt. They told me not to come out today. They didn't want to see their own daughter's downfall and wanted to protect my son. What? I thought you couldn't have kids. She had misunderstood. Not wanting kids and being unable to have them are entirely different. We just chose not to. We were hesitant because of Karen's treatment costs, but now Karen doesn't have to worry about money. The house you're living in now is Dad's property, but it's been gifted to Karen, so the rent will go to her. You're welcome to leave if you don't like it. What? Why are you giving it away while she's still a minor? I'm her parent, so if Karen gets it, I should too. I patiently explained the adoption to Linda and that she no longer had parental rights. Linda then blustered one last time. Fine, she's living with a disability anyway. She won't make much money even if you take her in. I silently showed her a video site. What's this? Why is Karen in it? It's got a lot of views. Karen has perfect pitch. If you had paid attention to your daughter, you would have known. We made videos of her playing impromptu piano pieces as part of her rehabilitation, and they went viral. She's now a famous influencer for her beauty and talent, and don't bother trying to take advantage. I've recorded this conversation, and I'll release it if anything happens. Linda hurriedly left, almost fleeing. Since then, Mark had apologized and worked hard, asking my parents for a loan. Because of the job they'd helped him get, my father trusted Mark after looking into his eyes and decided to lend him the money. He lent it interest-free with a promise that Mark would pay back monthly. My dad said he believed Mark would be fine now. Linda, with no one to turn to and estranged, was reportedly suffering from diabetes and living on welfare. She was unrecognizable from her days as an internet idol. I thought Karen would thwart my dreams, but now, thanks to her, my dreams have come true. That's because, after becoming famous, Karen received numerous invitations to perform worldwide, not just as a wheelchair pianist, but for her pure talent. My dream was to travel the world. I fully support Karen as her manager. My husband stays in America, focusing on raising our son. Karen is popular enough to support us with her income alone, yet she loves her brother dearly and often returns to America to spend time with the family. Recently, Karen thanked me out of the blue. What's up? Why suddenly? Because of you, Mom. I have this life. Your kidney is inside me. I will never be apart from you, and that makes me happy. I'm so glad to have become Karen's parent. The words Karen said to Linda were what I wanted to say to my birth parents. Karen made me feel vindicated. If Linda hadn't been so twisted, maybe her life would have been different. I felt I understood the likely unhappy lives of my birth parents without seeing them. Karen's music